This is the 16th square, the 16th 752 square in the reiteration process of all 20 squares, which started in December, late December of 2019. I think it was either the 5th day or the 6th day of Hanukkah, December 26th. Might have been the 3rd day of Hanukkah. Might have been either Kislev 28, which would be the 3rd day of Hanukkah, or the 4th day, 25th, 26th, 27th. The 4th might have been the 4th day of Hanukkah. Anyway, long story short, these squares got developed, and what they are 5 by 5 grid squares. So there's 25 squares within this larger square, and each smaller square, each of these 25 small squares have a number in no particular discernible order, at least that is from any human logic point of view at this time. Rather, the numbers were received through some type of, I might call it telepathic transmission, psychic transmission. In other words, they were just guesses, and they weren't from me. I would ask somebody, and it would come as just a random number that they guessed. But I'm of the opinion that if someone guesses a number and consistently is doing this, it's not them that's behind it. There's some higher intelligence, and I'd like to think that it is godly intelligence from a godly source that these numbers are coming and have come on a consistent basis for a period of maybe 16 to 18 months. And over this period of time, that period of time, that 16 to 18 month period, roughly, was December of 2019 up until mid to late summer, or depending, maybe a little bit afterward, depending on how you reckon it, but of 21. So it's like 18, let's say an 18-month period, because maybe the last month or two, they weren't exactly random. They were, it changed the format at the end, but pretty much from the beginning up until like the summer, early summer of 20, or just the summer of 21, they were all intuitively guessed, and so I believe that they're heavenly, they're godly. They came from a holy source, and they were transcribed, and they were held. They were held with great value, with great desire, great attention to. I think you get the point. And after this 18-month period went by, there was a redaction period where so it kind of like after 18 months and a few months went by, and then maybe let's see, maybe a year went by or so, and then when we reached the 3-year mark from when it first started, the thought came to do a retrospective, sort of a retelling of the story. That is, in Hebrew, misparim is like saper, it's like sipur, a story. But the numbers tell the story. But it was a time to retell the story of these numbers, how they were developed, and how the squares happened. Now, this 5 by 5 square that was made of so-called random numbers, which I believe are telepathically transcribed holy numbers that have very deep meanings and practical meanings at some point, if I would only have the patience to hold on to it long enough to see it through and wait until there's some kind of maturation or some kind of development or unfolding, whatever you want to call it. And so in this redaction process, we're actually in the 16th square. Each square is 25 squares, but it represents a 35-day period of time. And why is that exactly? That ties into the idea of why it's called the 752 square. Because there's a certain arrangement of ordering up the breaking up of the number 7 that is found throughout the Bible, which is 7 made up of 5 and 2. 7 can be made up of 6 and 1, and that's in the Bible as well. 3 and 4, also. 5 and 2, and 7 and 0. But 5 and 2 has to do with what's first coming to mind is the 7 species of the land of Israel are 5 fruits, and there's 2 grains, wheat and barley, and then not necessarily in this order, but pomegranates, figs, dates, olives, and pomegranates, figs, dates, olives, and grapes. There we go. So you have your 5 and 2, but there's many other things. It goes very niche. It goes to the order of the cleaning of the menorah. They would clean 5 of them, according to this brisa in Yoma 33a. It's Abaya would retell the order according to the order of the Gemara according to Abba Shaul. And it was cleaning the 5 lamps, then applying the daily blood of the sacrifice, and then the 2 lamps. So it's 5 and 2 also. But I've taken it into more ideas that maybe are not exactly biblical, but they're Jewish or within relics of Jewish history. For example, there's, if you look at the pictures of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's, there's 7 of them. I know. One of them you have basically the Marash, whatever they always say, but they have one of the Marash. No, you have 5 main pictures that everybody knows: the Alter Rebbe, Mishnah Zalmiyadi, the Valtanya, the Alter Rebbe. You have Tzemach Tzedek. You have there. You have I think the Marash, the Frierdiker Rebbe, and of course the Lubavitcher Rebbe that we know. You have the 5, but there's 2 that you don't have there. The Mitzvah Rebbe isn't there, and the Marash is not there. And some say the Marash has a picture of him, but it's the Rashab that you have. It's Rashab, Shmuel Ber, I think. Yeah. So it's Rashab, the Frierdiker Rebbe, and then the Rebbe. So it's the Marash is not there, and the Mitzvah Rebbe is not there. Although some say they have pictures of the Marash, but it's not clear. But basically, I've never seen it, and it's not very common. And so that's also, you have a configuration of 5 and 2. But it goes deeper. It goes more and more. I can take many examples. Joseph and the brothers, with the 7 years of the famine, 5 and 2. He goes, 2 years have started, and then there's 5 years left. And it goes more. But anyway, and it goes into other secular examples too. Yeah, there's that one too. But anyway, that is why it's called the 752 square, because this 5 by 5 grid follows that same idea in that you see 5 columns I'm looking at them right now, and 2 of them you don't see. They're invisible columns. They're invisible. And in this case, it doesn't have to be this way, but in this case it represents the days of the weekend. which is Shabbos or Saturday, and Sunday, which in America is like a weekend. In Israel, it's just a regular day. But in America, there's, whether you're Jewish or Christian, or just not not religious at all. I think in America and other places, everyone feels a difference between Sunday and the rest of the week, and I think that that ties into the 5 and 2 as well. You have the 5 weekdays and you have the 2 days of the weekend. So that's basically a short version, or maybe it's not so short by now, but anyway, yeah, short version of why it's called the 752 squares. Now, I had I was going to do it, not necessarily today. I would do it 35 days, because 10 days are invisible in this grid. Okay? So you have 25, and in each one of the rows, there's 2. So 2 times 5 is 10. So there's 10 days that are invisible, but they're there. And they can be called auxiliary days. They can be like phantom days or hidden days, invisible days. And you can use them almost like a joker. Or like, yeah. Okay. These are the numbers of the 752 square that represents a time passage. It started on the 23rd day of Sivan. We're not quite there yet. Of 5781, which was June 3rd of 2021. That happened to have been a Thursday. And all these start on Thursday. I should mention that. Yeah, they start on Thursday and they end on Wednesday, the following Wednesday. We start on Thursday. And there's reasons for that as well. Thursday, it's like, it's 5. And you also, there's another 5 and 2 thing, it should be mentioned, is in the Zeir Anpin, in the Kabbalah, in the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, there's 5 Sefirot. I mean, there's really 6, but the bottom is Malchut, so it's like Chesed, that's Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach Hod Yesod, and Malchus. Okay? But Yesod and Malchus go together. They're somehow linked in a way that the others are not linked. So you have, again, a same pattern, 5 and 2. So that's what this is, the 5 and 2 square. And so the period went from 23rd of Sivan, today's the 11th of Sivan, and the reason why I'm doing it, there's a bifurcation. It's split up because the year that this was produced was what I call a spring year, or a early year, or a Shana Mukdam or Mukdemet, which means that it's everything is early. It's the earliest you can be, because the next year will be a leap year. But this year, which is 5784, 3 years later, it's a leap year. So what happened, because of the Adar, the extra Adar this year, there was a bifurcation. The months they're not lined up. So while I was doing it like last year when I was redacting it before a leap year, some of the dates, they were kind of close. They weren't too off. But now, like some of them, like it's almost a month off, 3 weeks off or whatever. So while on the solar calendar, the Gregorian, the secular calendar, we're right in line. We're June 3rd to July 7th. Right now we're in June 17th, so we're definitely in those parameters, in that borderline. But according to the lunar calendar, we're off, because lunar calendar at that year was way ahead. You were dealing with the parameters of 23 Sivan to 27 Tammuz. You can kind of visualize that feeling, that vibe, And we're not in that vibe right now. We're still in early. We haven't even hit mid-month yet, so we're still in the waxing. It's still, Sivan is still growing. There's still more influence that Sivan is giving us now, and it's clearly different. But at any rate, from a solar point of view, we're there. June 3rd through July 7th was the 2021 was that time. So those are the time period, and these 25 numbers represent that. And here it is: 299, 434, 057, 592, 551, 016, 026, 082, 013, 016, 002, 022, 076, 165, 100, or 100, 009, 045, 002, 046, 035, 048, 268, 036, 095, and 057. Those are the numbers of the 16th, 752 square.